Listen, mate, NBA players jump higher than you. But it's not because of the reason you think it is. It's not because they were born that way, and it's not because they have super insane genetics. Hey, I'm Max. I have a 39-inch vertical jump, and this channel is dedicated to helping people to jump higher and sprint faster. I think I should get into the real question. Why do NBA players jump a lot higher than you? To answer this question, I am going to take the example of LeBron James. Have you heard of him? I'm sure you have. So, let's go back to when LeBron James was 8 years old. So when he was 8 years old, he probably jumped about 1 or 2 inches higher than his peers, than his mates, than his friends, right? Because naturally, he had longer tendons, more fast-twitch muscle fibers, that kind of thing. Naturally, he was slightly more athletic. As a result of this, and because of his height, he was able to, touch the net when all his friends couldn't. So, he was touching the net all the time because he was showing off. And you would too, right? So by getting in all these reps, and as we know, the law of specificity, if you want to get better at something, you have to do that thing more often. And the other thing is that the beauty of max effort jumps is that they self-intensify. So as you get better and better, the jumps themselves become more and more intense and serve to continue overloading your body and spurring on adaptations. These adaptations make you jump higher. So when LeBron James was getting in all these reps of jumping max effort, trying to touch the net, trying to touch the rim, whatever it was, he was getting better and better, whilst his peers weren't able to do that, so they weren't jumping, so they were staying at the same athletic level. Now, if you progress to the time that he's 20 years old, playing in the NBA, because he's gotten in all these reps, right, he's grown up showing off in front of people, touching the net, then progressing to touching the rim, then progressing to dunking, then windmilling, then doing all these crazy things, whilst his friends weren't doing that. Because of this exposure, by the time he's 20 years old, he's jumping 20 inches higher than his friends, even though when you go back 12 years when they were 8 years old, he was only jumping 1 or 2 inches higher. The gap steepens because that's how it works. That is the real reason why NBA players jump higher than you. A lot of the NBA players say, no, I did nothing to increase my vertical jump. I did no training. But they did. LeBron James, people like him, they were doing the max effort jumps, and that enabled them to jump super high. Okay? That is the secret sauce. They were doing the jumping. That is training. And because they're doing max effort, they're going to jump higher from it. So how does this even link to you? Well, look, you're on this video because you're probably not super athletically gifted. You probably don't have an impressive vertical jump. You probably can't dunk. But my solution to you is spend a lot of time jumping. This is the #1 staple if you want to get better at jumping. As we've said, the law of specificity and the fact they self-intensify. What I want you to be doing basically is getting in 30 to 50 jumps in every single week. If you can do that over time, you're going to jump higher. Period. Right? And actually, personally, so 2 years ago I had a 22-inch vert, now I have a 39-inch vert. Let that sink in. I've made heaps of progress. And one of the reasons for that was jumping, right? I tried plyometrics, I tried all of it, but it didn't work for me. But it was only when I stripped it back, did the basics, just did max effort jumps. I max effort jumped every single day for 3 months. My vertical jump went up by 7 or 8 inches, and I got my first dunk. Max effort jumping is so powerful. And if you want to jump high and jump higher than the NBA players, you've got to be doing the max effort jumps. Seriously. Seriously, you've got to be doing them. And if you're young, below the age of about 15, you could probably be jumping every single day, because that's what I did. and that would help you massively. You've also got to take into account knee pain, right? You're probably going to get injured if you jump a lot, but you need to combat this by getting stronger. That's going to reduce your risk of injury, and you've also got to do stuff like isometrics for your knee health. Isometrics, you do 5 sets of 45 seconds. You do like a wall sit or a manual isometrics. So you do that, you push about 70% effort, hold that for 45 seconds. Really good for your knee pain. Yeah. So it's a bit of a quick one today, but generally, if you want to jump high, you're going to jump. And that is the reason why these NBA players are incredible. Look, if LeBron James did no exercise his whole childhood, he wouldn't be 100th of the player he is now. Right? He would be nothing. He would be just an average, very, very... Honestly, he'd be a rubbish athlete. This is the common misconception, though, that everyone has, that these athletes are it's just genetics. No, it's because they were slightly better than you, and as a result, they got in the exposures. It's the same with sprinting. If you look at, the fastest athletes, they were faster than everyone else growing up. As a result, they were challenging everyone to races. They were sprinting a lot. They were getting exposure, and as a result, they got faster. Right? Usain Bolt, probably slightly faster than his peers, just genetically, and as a result, he was just racing them, whatever, just, and got the exposure. The sprints self-intensify, and he got better and better at sprinting, and then eventually now he's a 100-meter world record holder. So sprinting, it's not as much, because in sprinting genetics have a much larger role, but jumping, genetics don't play as big as a role as you think. I think anybody can get to a 30-inch vert. Easy. Anybody can get there. 100%. Anybody. Anyone can get to a 30-inch vert. And most people, I think, could get to, 35 inches and beyond, for sure. So, that's the little tip for the day. Jump a lot. Jump 30 to 50 reps in every single week. You're going to jump high. By the way, I also sell a jump training program, a 3-month training program called Peak Vert. I'm selling it pretty cheap right now. That will help you. That is 3 months of training that I did that enabled my vertical jump to go up by 6 inches in just 12 weeks. So it's really valuable. Check that out. That will be in the description. See you soon.